Hello, it is time to let go of all the burdens of this day. Let your body sink deeply into the soft cushion of your bed. Tonight, we will listen together to the timeless stories of Zen wisdom. A journey into the quiet recognition that all is well. Close your eyes now. Take a deep breath in through your nose, filling your lungs. And breathe out, slowly. Gently releasing all the tension and the noise you carried with you today. Do not try to think, just relax. Welcome to Lotus Whisper. Tonight, we embark on an ancient path, guided by the Zen masters, whose teachings are not meant to confuse, but to soothe. They use simple stories, the koans, to quiet the mind's endless chattering, allowing you to settle into the deep, natural stillness that resides within you. We seek to rest in that place where the seeker and the sought are one. Let the gentle rhythm of these words be the anchor for your awareness. There is nothing to do, nowhere to go. Just listen. Please, subscribe to the channel to hear more stories and teachings that guide you back to your inner peace. The quiet search for wisdom begins, not with loud answers, but with a question that stills all thought. It begins with the impossible, the beautiful contradiction that is the koan known as the sound of one hand. Imagine yourself now, standing quietly on the veranda of a Zen temple, high on a misty, jade-green mountain. The air is cool, carrying the scent of pine and damp earth. All you hear is the low, steady drone of crickets and the distant rush of water. This silence is the space into which the koan is offered. The master Hakuin was a formidable teacher. He would often ask his students, "You can hear the sound of two hands clapping, can't you? Now, what is the sound of one hand?" This is not a riddle for the clever mind. If you try to answer it with words, a gentle whoosh of air, the sound of silence, a philosophical answer, you will fail. Hakuin knew that the moment you try to catch the truth with your concepts, it slips away. The sound of two hands is the sound of duality.
Heart, the striving that always falls short. This internal struggle creates the noise that keeps you awake. But when you simply breathe, deeply and completely, and let your awareness rest in the present moment, you stop the clapping. You're left with the quiet presence of one hand. That single hand is your unbroken, whole, and perfect self. It is the unborn mind, the essence that has no beginning and no end, no arrival and no departure. When the mind is not grasping at anything, when it is not pushing anything away, what remains? Only this profound stillness. This stillness is not empty. It is fully alive. It is the sound of the universe sustaining itself without effort. As the seeker sits in deep meditation trying to hear the sound of one hand, their concepts begin to crumble. The intellect, which is used to solving puzzles, finds no grip. The student might spend days, weeks, or even years trying to intellectualize the answer. But Hakuin's true gift was forcing the student into a deep, sustained awareness where the intellect finally exhausts itself. When the clever mind tires, the quiet mind awakens. Let us imagine a young monk named Soshin who struggled with this koan. He was brilliant, able to quote sutras and debate philosophy, yet the koan mocked his learning. He tried listening to the wind, the stream, the beating of his own heart. He would sit for hours waiting for a revelation, but the sound of one hand remained stubbornly silent. He went to Hakuin. "Master," Soshin pleaded, "I hear the stream, I hear the birds, I hear my own breath, but I cannot hear the sound of one hand." Hakuin simply smiled, a deep knowing peace in his eyes. You hear the sounds of the world, Soshin, but they are merely echoes of the original sound. Go deeper. Listen to the one who is listening. This gentle redirecting is the core of all Zen wisdom. The answer is never outside. It is always the nature of the questioner. When Soshin returned to his cushion, he no longer focused on the sound. He focused on the listener. He let the thoughts about the sound come and go like clouds, no longer following them. Whole. Let this understanding soothe the mind now. There is no need for striving. There is no need for searching. Just the deep, quiet knowing that your essential nature is peaceful, complete, and undivided. Relax your shoulders. Let your breathing become softer. Sink deeper into the moment. The sound of one hand is the quiet, perfect presence of this very breath, the most famous of all Zen Koans. The single word that has unlocked the minds of countless seekers for 1,000 years is the simple yet impenetrable answer. Mu. Let us journey now to the monastery of Jiaozhou, or Joshu, as he is known. Imagine a cold, crisp morning. Joshu, the great master, is already immensely old, his wisdom layered like the smooth stones of the ancient courtyard. He moves with a slow, deliberate grace, a living testament to the truth he teaches. A young monk, earnest and filled with the fire of inquiry, approaches the master. This monk carries the heavy weight of intellectual searching. He has studied the sutras, he understands the doctrine of karma, and he can recite the lineage of the Buddhas. But his heart still yearns for the simple, direct experience of truth. He bows deeply. "Master," the young monk asks, his voice trembling slightly with the importance of the question. "Does a dog have the Buddha nature?" This is not a trivial question. In the Buddhist tradition, the Buddha nature is the inherent, pure, and perfect essence that exists in all sentient beings, from humans to the smallest insect. It is the guarantee that every being has the potential for enlightenment. The monk expected the answer to be a resounding yes. The texts all but confirm it. This would be the logical, doctrinal answer. But Joshu, the man who saw the great illusion of logic, simply responded, "Mu." This word, mu, sometimes written as wu, means no, not, or nothing. But to translate it this way is to diminish its thunderous power. It is not merely a negation. It is a sword that cuts through the seeker's attachment to concepts. Let the sound of this mu echo in your stillness now. It is a deep, guttural sound, free from explanation. It is the sound of the Joshu's mu is the great stillness that holds both the yes and the no without effort. It is the pure awareness that sees the whole, untroubled by the parts. It is the great silence that underlies all noise. Imagine the young monk now, sent away to meditate on this single baffling word. He cannot sleep. He cannot study. Every time he thinks he has an explanation. Joshu meant that Buddha nature is beyond the dog, or Joshu was testing my knowledge. He feels the concept crumble, and the raw, inexplicable mu reasserts itself. He tries to find the dog. He tries to find the nature. He tries to find the link. But mu is not a piece of information to be found. It is a state of being to be entered. When the mind clings to a concept, it creates suffering. The idea of the Buddha nature, while beautiful, is still just an idea. The moment the monk asks if the dog has the Buddha nature, he has separated the dog from the nature, creating two things where there was only one. He has created a subject, the dog, and an object, the nature, to be possessed. Mu shatters this possessiveness. It says, stop seeking the Buddha nature as an object outside of yourself or outside of the dog. Stop asking for permission to be whole. Let us sit with this. Breathe in the simplicity of mu. When you feel anxious, the anxiety is the yes you are seeking. Yes,
This is a real danger. Yes, I must worry about this tomorrow. Mu is the gentle counterforce. It is the deep realization that the fear is just a thought, a passing cloud. Mu is the awareness that hears the anxious thought without agreeing with it. If you can become utterly present with Mu, not trying to understand it, but simply holding it in your awareness, you begin to feel the shift. The intellectual part of the brain that struggles with logic must surrender. It has no more tools left to use. When the tool chest of the intellect is empty, the door to the quiet, intuitive heart opens. 1,000 years later, a Zen master described the practice of meditating on Mu as a blazing hot iron ball stuck in your throat. You cannot swallow it. Fingers is Mu. It is a raw, present sensation, utterly real and complete. He goes back to the master. This time he does not speak. He simply stands before Jashu, utterly present, his whole being resounding with the deep, quiet knowledge of Mu. Jashu looks at him, not with a question, but with an open gaze. In that silence, Soshin understands. Mu is not the absence of the Buddha nature. It is the unconceptualized Buddha nature. It is the Buddha nature before you name it, before you describe it, before you try to capture it. It is the whole, undivided truth, too vast for the word yes and too close for the word no. It is the life force itself. Let your consciousness be filled with this deep, quiet realization now. Let your mind empty itself completely. In the space of Mu, there is no worry, no struggle, no separation. You are simply here, whole, complete, unbreakable. This is the power of Jashu's Mu. It is the final gentle instruction to stop seeking a conceptual safety and to rest completely in the safety of this present moment, which cannot be named, defined, or lost. Just Mu. We turn now to a koan that is sharper than a sword, a story that demands we look at the cost of our attachments and the sheer, uncompromising immediacy of truth. This is the story of Nansen, the great master, and the small, ordinary cat. Imagine the atmosphere of the Zen monastery. It is a world dedicated to finding inner peace, to the deep harmony of non-contention. Yet, even in such a place, the human habit of division can arise over the smallest thing. One afternoon, two groups of monks in Nansen's monastery found themselves arguing fiercely. The subject of their dispute was completely insignificant, a small, beautiful cat. One group claimed ownership of the creature, saying it had wandered into their study hall first. The other group insisted that the cat belonged to the whole monastery, or perhaps that it had chosen their meditation hall. The argument grew louder, disrupting the profound silence of the grounds. The beautiful, quiet truth of their practice was being drowned out by the noise of their separate opinions. The cat, oblivious to a single word of Zen, a single word that expresses the seamless, undivided truth, then this cat will be saved. If no one can speak, the cat must be cut in two. This was a moment of shocking, absolute urgency. The ultimate Zen test. The master was not interested in philosophy or scholarly answers. He demanded a truth that transcended the cat, the knife, and the very concept of saving or losing. He demanded a single utterance that would prove the monks were truly awake to the unity of life. But the monks hesitated. Their minds raced. They thought of 1,000 clever phrases, 100 beautiful verses, but every single word felt false, empty, and conceptual. They were paralyzed by the very dualities they had created. The duality of life and death, the duality of the answer, and the silence. They remained mute. The argument had been loud, but the silence now was deafening. No one could speak the truth that resolves all things. And so, Nansen swiftly cut the cat in two.
He then tossed the two halves to the ground and walked away, his teaching moment complete. The monastery was plunged into a stunned, terrifying stillness. Let this quiet, uncomfortable image settle in your awareness now. The koan does not ask you to judge the master's action. It asks you to understand the intensity of the teaching. The cat, innocent and ordinary, became the perfect, living sacrifice for the monk's greatest illness, attachment to division. The master's sword was not merely against the cat. It was a blade aimed at the very root of their attachment. He was saying, your concepts are so worthless. Your desire to be right is so strong that you will lose life itself over a petty argument. When we lie awake at night, what is our cat? Our cat is the problem we are fighting over in our own minds. It is the argument between the part of us that wants rest and the part of us that needs to worry. It is the division between who I am and who I should be. Nansen's action teaches the profound peace that comes from the cessation of contention. Later that evening, the great monk Joshu, Nansen's chief disciple, returned to the monastery. Nansen told him the sandal on his head was an affirmation of the immediate, undivided reality. It was a statement. Look, everything is exactly as it is, complete and perfect. The answer is not in your concepts, but in the raw, flowing absurdity of this moment. It was the living action that resolved the duality. It was the unattached response that valued nothing over the moment itself. The cat was cut in two because the monks' minds were cut in two. They had divided reality into me and other, my thing and your thing. They lost sight of the fact that the entire universe, including the cat, was part of a single flowing whole. They valued the concept of winning the argument over the reality of life. Let this sink in softly. You are not two people. You are not your worries and your peace. You are simply the whole of yourself. The argument in your mind is the noise that prevents you from seeing that the cat, the present moment, is already whole and perfect. Nansen's sword teaches us to cut through the arguments, not the life. He used the cat to save the minds of his monks. He gave them an unbearable memory that would forever remind them of the true price of dualism. Your task now is not to hold on to the pieces of the cat or the pieces of your day's stress. Your task is to simply let go of the dividing line. Stop fighting the thought. Stop arguing with the circumstance. Stop resisting the truth of the present moment. When you drop the sword of contention, when you allow the present reality to simply be, with all its imperfection, with all its messiness, you realize that you no longer need to save the cat. The cat, the moment, is already restored to its wholeness because you are no longer trying to divide it. This is the peace that transcends all understanding. It is the peace of direct, unattached action. It is the peace of Joshu's silent, absurd, perfect sandal. Rest in the simplicity of this non-resistance. Let the stillness become your only answer. We now come to one of the most gentle yet revealing lessons in the Zen tradition, a koan about the necessity of inner space. A cup launched into a complex intellectual discussion about the nature of the mind, the subtleties of the non-duality principle, and the errors he perceived in certain historical texts. He spoke fluently, his words spilling out like a torrent. Nanin listened silently, nodding politely, and continued to pour the tea. As the master poured, the cup was quickly filled. The tea reached the brim. But Nanin did not stop. He kept pouring. The beautiful, clear tea began to flow over the rim. It spilled onto the saucer, then onto the table, and finally dripped onto the professor's elegant robes.
The professor, jolted out of his discourse by the growing messy warmth, cried out, "Stop, master, stop! The cup is full. No more will go in." Nanin gently set down the teapot. He looked at the agitated professor with eyes full of deep, serene understanding. "Just like this cup," the master said softly, "you are full of your own opinions, concepts, and intellectual understandings. You come to me seeking wisdom, but how can I possibly show you the true way unless you first empty your cup? Let the quiet wisdom of this image settle in your awareness now. The external world can never truly harm us. It is our fullness that causes pain. We are full of yesterday's worries, full of tomorrow's plans, full of self-judgment, and full of assumptions about others. This internal saturation leaves no room for the fresh, living truth of the present moment. When you try to sleep, your cup is often overflowing with the residue of the day, the unfinished tasks, the conversations you wish you could have taken back, the worries about bills or health. You are so full that even the beautiful silence of the night cannot enter. Nanin's simple action is a perfect visual metaphor for the Zen path. Before you can receive the simple, powerful truth of being present, you must let go of the need to be right, the need to control, and the need to know everything. The deep work of Zen practice, the true source of peace, is emptying the cup. This emptying is not about becoming blank or mindless. It is about releasing the clinging to thoughts. It is the conscious decision to stop debating with yourself. Of non-clinging is the discipline that Nanin was demonstrating. He showed the professor that true wisdom is not about adding more concepts to an already cluttered mind. It is about clearing the path for direct, immediate experience. The full cup is the ego, which believes it already possesses the answers. The empty cup is the beginner's mind, the profound humility that says, "I do not know, and I am ready to receive." Rest now in the deep, calming relief of not having to know. You do not need to solve the world tonight. You do not need to hold all the answers in your awareness. You can set down the teapot of your own making. Just as the tea stained the professor's robes, our overfull minds spill and damage our inner peace. The spilled tea is the anxiety, the sleeplessness, the constant low-level irritation that comes from holding too much. Now, take a deep breath. With the out-breath, imagine the subtle, calming release of the tea spilling out of your cup. Let go of one small judgment you made about yourself today. Let go of one worry you have about tomorrow. Let the cup empty just a little more. This gentle act of emptying, repeated moment by moment, creates the beautiful, receptive space within you. It is in this spaciousness that true wisdom settles, not as a complex idea, but as a deep, quiet sense of clarity and well-being. Your task is simple. Be the empty cup. Be the vessel that is ready to receive the peace that is already here, waiting for you to make room for it. Rest in the space between thoughts. This space is the essence of true Zen, the place where learning ends and knowing begins. We now turn to a realization that is perhaps the greatest comfort offered by Zen, a teaching that releases us from the exhausting search for the sacred in some distant, elevated place. This is the profound truth that ordinary mind is the way. Imagine the life of a great seeker, a man named Layman Pang. He was not a monk. He was a wealthy, educated, and well-respected man of the world, married with a son and daughter. Yet he felt the same deep 10,000 things. The 10,000 things in Zen language means all of existence, all phenomena, all thoughts, all events. Layman Pang was asking, Who is the self that remains untouched by the chaos of life? Who is the truly free man? He expected a lofty, esoteric answer, perhaps a deep philosophical discourse on emptiness or non-self. Mazu looked down at him and said simply, "Wait until you swallow the water in the West River in one gulp. Then I will tell you." Let the absurdity of this instruction wash over you. Swallow the entire river? This instruction was a gentle yet absolute roadblock to Layman Pang's intellectualizing. It was a koan meant to stop his seeking mind dead in its tracks. It was Mazu's way of saying, stop trying to use your conceptual mind to grasp a reality that is beyond concept. Stop trying to separate yourself from the universe. Layman Pang left Mazu, not with an answer, but with a sudden, profound cessation of seeking. The impossibility of the task, swallowing the river, meant that the search had to stop. There was no logical next step. He had to surrender. He realized that the way was not hidden in complex words, nor was it stored in a distant library. It was right here, in the simple, present moment that his search had always overlooked. In that very moment, Layman Pang experienced his awakening. He returned home and gathered his considerable wealth, all the gold, jewels, and silks that the world deemed so valuable. He took them all to the nearest lake and simply poured them into the water. He did not give them away to the poor, nor did he keep them for his own comfort. He cast them into the lake to symbolize the complete and utter abandonment of the conceptual world that binds us. He was washing his hands of the very idea of possession, realizing that what truly sustains life cannot be bought or sold. From that day forward, Layman Pang and his family lived a life of deliberate, radical simplicity. They earned their daily sustenance by carrying wood and water. This is the great teaching. Ordinary mind is the way. What is this ordinary mind? It is becoming the vastness that holds all the moments of your life without trying to categorize or control them. Imagine Layman Pang now, many years later. He is simply carrying a load of firewood back to his humble hut. He is sweaty, tired, and deeply peaceful. There is no contradiction between his enlightenment and his sore shoulders. The enlightenment is the sore shoulders, fully accepted. A local scholar, hearing of the enlightened layman, comes to question him. "How do you practice Zen now?" the scholar asks, expecting to hear of miraculous feats or complex meditations. Layman Pang smiles, puts down his load of wood and says, "When I am hungry, I eat. When I am tired, I sleep. When I carry the wood, I carry the wood. When I draw water, I draw water." The scholar, deeply disappointed, says, "But anyone can do that. Is that not just the ordinary life of a common person?" Layman Pang replies with a deep, quiet sincerity, "It is true. Anyone can do that. But when the ordinary person eats, they are distracted by 1,000 thoughts. They are comparing the taste, recalling another meal, worrying about their weight, or planning the next meal. When they sleep, they are not resting. They are caught in the noise of dreams or the anxiety of the unfinished day. When they carry the wood, they are wishing they were doing something else." He pauses, allowing his words to settle like dust. "But when I eat," Layman Pang says, "I simply eat. When I sleep, I simply sleep. The thought and the action are one, undivided. This is the difference." Let this teaching sink into your body now. The peace you seek is not achieved by separating yourself from your life, but by immersing yourself fully in the present
reality of it. You are lying here. Your task is not to force yourself to sleep, nor to fight the thoughts that arise. Your task is to simply be the person who is lying here. If a thought of tomorrow's meeting arises, do not chase it, and do not judge it. Just notice the thought, like a cloud passing in the night. Attachments we carry. The attachment to identity, form, and gender. This is the story of a woman's true nature, a profound teaching on the transcendence of self. Imagine a setting of great philosophical and spiritual intensity, the court of the Buddha, surrounded by a large assembly of monks, nuns, and lay followers. In this assembly is a young woman, the daughter of the Dragon King, known for her brilliant mind and her complete devotion to the Dharma. She had been practicing diligently, seeking to realize the deepest truth of non-duality. But within the assembly, an older, highly respected monk named Shariputra, known for his vast wisdom and understanding of the doctrine, held a subtle, lingering attachment to the idea of form. He could not fully reconcile his intellectual understanding of emptiness with the physical reality of a woman achieving immediate, total enlightenment. Shariputra challenged the Dragon King's daughter. He questioned her spiritual attainment, suggesting that her feminine form was an obstacle to the highest state of awakening. He pointed out that, according to some traditional views, a woman must first be reborn as a man before reaching full Buddhahood. This concept of gender as a fixed barrier was Shariputra's own final, subtle attachment to duality. The Dragon King's daughter, sensing the heavy weight of his conceptual mind, decided to give him a teaching that was utterly direct, instantaneous, and beyond all logic. She stood before Shariputra, radiating a calm, absolute confidence. Then, in a moment that defied all known physical laws, she transformed herself into a perfect, fully enlightened Buddha, a physical manifestation of the ultimate truth. The assembly gasped, witnessing the impossible, but her teaching was not yet complete. She then addressed the baffled Shariputra, asking him, "Tell me, Venerable One, how long did it take for me to accomplish this transformation? Was it fast? Was it slow?" Shariputra, overwhelmed by the sight, confessed, "It was so fast, it was in the space of a single thought. It was instantaneous." She smiled. Then, as swiftly as she had transformed, she transformed back into the Dragon King's daughter. She looked at Shariputra and asked the final, cutting question. "Am this body, with this gender, and this age?" This constant defense is the source of endless tension. The Dragon King's daughter teaches us that your true nature, the awareness that is listening to these words right now, has no gender, no age, and no fixed form. It is the pure, unborn space in which all forms arise and pass away. When you lie awake, worried about who you are or what you have become, you are fighting for a fragile concept of self. You are holding on to a temporary form, but your deepest essence is already perfectly whole, just like the daughter who was able to manifest Buddhahood instantly because she knew she was never not a Buddha. Her transformation was not a magical trick for her, but a direct demonstration of the truth she already embodied, the truth that all forms are empty, not empty in the sense of being meaningless, but empty of any permanent, independent self-existence. Consider your anxieties about your physical self, the attachment to youth, the fear of aging, the worry over health. These are all attachments to the temporary form. They are Shariputra's doubt. They are the belief that your essence is tied to the state of the body. The Zen practice of letting go is the continuous, moment-to-moment realization that you are the changeless awareness observing the changing form. Let your consciousness be vast now. Imagine your awareness is the endless, clear blue sky. Your body is a cloud moving across that sky. The cloud changes. It gets bigger. It shrinks. It shifts shape. It looks masculine or feminine.
But the sky itself is never affected. The sky never ages. It is never diminished. It is always whole. The daughter of the Dragon King was showing Shariputra, stop clinging to the cloud. Rest as the sky. This recognition brings an enormous silent peace. It means you can be kind to the cloud, you can tend to the body, but you do not mistake it for your ultimate reality. You are released from the exhausting duty of maintaining a fragile, temporary identity. You are the awareness that hears the sound of the wind, feels the weight of the blanket, and recognizes the thought of worry. This awareness is already perfect, complete, and free. It is the Buddha nature itself, transcending all labels, all history, and all his swift, uncompromising strikes of wisdom. His teachings were often like thunderclaps, meant to awaken the listener instantly from the stupor of distraction. One morning, Yun Men stood before his assembly of monks. The weather was ordinary, perhaps a cool breeze, perhaps a gentle sun. Nothing special. The circumstances of the day were neither joyful nor tragic. They were simply, perfectly normal. Yun Men addressed his monks, not with a deep sutra or a long philosophical discourse, but with a question that challenged their attachment to judgment and preference. He asked, "I do not ask you about the days gone by. The past is already a finished scroll. I do not ask you about the days yet to come. The future is an unwritten page. Tell me, what about the day you are in right now?" The monks stood silent. They were used to seeking meaning in the grand or the dramatic. They were searching for a clever, conceptual answer to express the depth of the Dharma. They tried to categorize the day. It is a day for practice. It is a day of no mind. It is a day of impermanence. But every answer felt artificial. Yun Men waited for a moment, letting the silence grow heavy with their striving. Then, seeing that their minds were trapped in the dualistic search for a profound answer, he released them with the perfect, simple truth. Every day is a good day. Let this phrase settle into your awareness, a deep, quiet refrain against the constant pressure to evaluate. Every day is a good day. It is not a statement of blind optimism. It is not an instruction to ignore suffering. It is a declaration of ultimate, non-negotiable acceptance. Our anxiety is built on the opposite belief. Today is a bad day because the weather is gray. Today is a bad day because I made a mistake. Tomorrow will be a good day only if everything goes according to my plan. We spend our lives measuring the day against an imagined perfect ideal, and this comparison is the root of our discontent. Yun Men cuts through this judgment entirely. He is saying, the day is neither good nor bad. It's feeling of sorrow, the gravity of the loss. That, too, is the fierce reality of that moment. To be fully present with that raw reality, without adding the story of "this shouldn't be happening," is the practice of enlightenment. When you can say, "this worry I am feeling now is exactly the awareness of this present moment," you stop feeding the worry. You stop resisting the feeling. You allow the feeling to simply be. And in that unconditional allowance, it begins to dissipate naturally. The greatest source of peace is the realization that reality is non-negotiable. You cannot argue with the sunrise. You cannot plead with the rain. And you cannot bargain away the past. You can only meet this moment with your full, quiet presence. Let us return to the stillness of your room, the aches and discomforts you feel in your body. Every day is a good day. The silence or the distant noise you hear. Every day is a good day. The thought that attempts to pull you away. Every day is a good day. This phrase is a powerful antidote to the planning mind. The mind that must plan the future is a mind that fears the present. It believes that today is only a preparation for a better tomorrow. Yun Men reminds us that this moment is not preparation for anything. It is the final destination. It is the only moment that actually exists. Take a deep breath. Release the judgment of this moment. Stop evaluating your progress towards sleep. Stop trying to make this moment better than it is. The simple, quiet fact of your being here, breathing, resting, listening, this is the perfection of the whole universe manifesting in this instant. There is nothing missing. There is nothing that needs to be added. Rest in the profound, simple truth that you have arrived. Every moment, even this one, is exactly what it should be. And in that total acceptance, you find the deep, quiet surrender that leads to true, peaceful rest. Every day is a good day. We now draw upon a koan that speaks to the innate wholeness of life, a teaching that dispels the anxiety that something were here, and now they are gone. But the master has not finished. He grasps the monk by the nose with a firm, startling grip. The monk cries out in pain. How could they fly away, the master demands, when they have been here all the time? Let the shock of this physical contact and the beautiful illogical contradiction of the words settle in your awareness. They have flown away when they have been here all the time. This koan is a profound and gentle reminder of the two layers of reality, the temporary world of form and movement, and the ultimate, changeless reality of pure awareness. In the first layer, the world of the senses, the geese have flown away. They have vanished beyond the horizon. This represents the constant movement of your own life, the loss of opportunities, the passing of relationships, the fleeting nature of feelings. Your anxiety is the pain of witnessing things fly away and desperately trying to hold on to them. But in the second layer, the truth revealed by the master's painful grasp, the geese have been here all the time. The master, by causing pain to the monk's physical nose, forced the monk back into the absolute, undeniable reality of the present moment. The pain in the nose was raw, immediate, and utterly here. It was the proof of pure being. When the master says, "How could they fly away?" he is referring to the essential nature of the geese, the life force, the Buddha nature, the vast, continuous energy of the universe that connects all things. That energy cannot fly away. It is not born, and it does not die. It is the awareness that hears this story. Your deepest fear is that something essential is missing, that some part of your wholeness has flown away. You worry about a lost innocence, a lost opportunity, a lost love, or a lost sense of control. This koan tenderly dismantles that fear. The wild goose is the perfect metaphor for the truth you seek. It is free, unattached, and flies through the vast emptiness of the sky. But even as it flies, it is never separate from the sky itself. The sky is both the container and the essence of the goose's flight. When you feel restless or worried about the future, you are chasing the geese are fundamentally whole. There is no emptiness to fill. There is no missing piece to find. The wild goose, the freedom you seek, is the awareness that is already present, already breathing, already complete. Let the anxieties about loss, about separation, and about time simply pass like clouds. They are the beautiful, temporary flight. But you, the space that contains them, remain perfectly still, perfectly safe, and perfectly here. They have flown away, yet they have been here all the time. You are lost, yet you are here all the time. Rest in this quiet recognition of your unchanging, permanent presence. We now arrive at a pivotal moment in the history of Zen, a quiet, legendary duel of realization that defined the very nature of awakening. This is the koan of the mirror and the dust, a story that distinguishes between the gradual striving and the instantaneous, sudden truth. Imagine the atmosphere in the monastery of the fifth patriarch, Hongren. The master was old and needed to name his successor, the one who would carry the true robe and bowl, the living transmission of the Dharma. He announced a test. Each of his hundreds of monks was to write a verse, a simple poem, that expressed the depth of their understanding of the ultimate truth. The monks, most of them learned and deeply devoted, believed the clear successor would be the brilliant chief monk, Shensho. Shensho was a man of immense discipline. He had mastered all the practices. He sat in perfect meditation for hours, and he was respected for his unwavering effort and knowledge. Shensho felt the weight of expectation. He knew that the teaching was about the mind, which is compared to a bright mirror that reflects reality clearly. His deepest concern was how to keep that mirror spotless in the turbulent world. He went secretly, under the cover of night, and painted his verse on the wall of the southern corridor, close to the patriarch's chamber. His verse read, "The body is the Bodhi tree. The mind is like a bright mirror stand. Time and again brush it clean and let no dust alight." Know how to read. Yet, while pounding rice in the kitchen, his mind was already resting in the truth of non-duality. He had listened deeply to the patriarch's teachings on emptiness, and his understanding was immediate and complete. When Huineng heard the monks reciting Shensho's verse, he understood instantly that it missed the final, crucial point. He found a fellow monk and asked him to write a counterverse on the same wall. Huineng's verse, born not of study but of pure realization, read, "Bodhi originally has no tree. The bright mirror also has no stand. Originally there is not a single thing. Where can dust alight? Now, let the effortless power of this second verse fill the quiet space of your mind. This verse is the teaching of sudden awakening. It is the absolute realization of emptiness. It declares that the enlightened mind is not something created, but something recognized. If your essence is pure, vast, and formless awareness, like the sky, how can dust ever touch it? Dust can only land on a surface. If the mind has no fixed surface, no fixed identity, then there is no place for worry, fear, or self-judgment, the spiritual dust, to land. Shensho was focused on the discipline of doing, of cleaning the mirror. Huineng was resting in the ultimate truth of being, that the mind, in its original state, is not a mirror that can be dirtied. It is the unblemished, absolute clarity of space itself. The moment you realize there is no me trying to clean my mirror, all effort ceases and peace instantly arises. This koan brings profound rest to the overstriving mind. The sleepless night is often the result of trying to be Shensho, trying desperately to brush away the thoughts, trying to force the mind to be clean and still. We fight the dust, and the very fight creates more mental turmoil. Huineng's wisdom is the gentle invitation to simply stop the striving. Your worry, your fear, your past mistake, these are the dust. If you try to brush them away, you are confirming their reality. You are giving them a surface to cling to. But if you rest as the vast, formless awareness, the space where originally there is not a single thing, then where does already pure and utterly free from the need to strive? The mirror is the way. The dust is the illusion. Your true nature is the space where neither is truly separate. Rest in the effortless, quiet purity of no thing. We have traveled through the deep stillness of the koans, from the impossible sound to the effortless mirror. Now we arrive at the most fundamental question of all, the one that seeks the ultimate definition of our practice. What is Buddha? Imagine the master seated, perhaps in the simple meditation hall. The air is warm, thick with the scent of old wood and quiet reverence. The student approaches, often after years of rigorous practice, feeling they are finally ready for the profound, defining answer. The student asks, "Master, I have spent my life seeking enlightenment, studying the sutras, meditating countless hours. I have one question. What exactly is the Buddha?" The master's response is not a grand statement of theology, but an answer so startlingly ordinary, so common and low, that it shatters the student's high ideals instantly. In one famous instance, the master Yunmin replied, "A dried piece of shit stick," often translated euphemistically as a dried stick of dung or dried shit scraper. In another instance, when the monk Dongshan asked, the master Yushan simply replied, 3 pounds of flax, or 3 pounds of hemp. And to yet another earnest seeker, the master simply replied, the patch-robed one, referring to the ragged, common garment of a monk. Let the absolute shock of these answers penetrate the conceptual fortress of your mind. The student expects a golden truth, a divine revelation, a high-sounding philosophical concept. Instead, they are given something base, absurd, and completely ordinary. Why? The student, despite all their seeking, is still dividing reality into two camps, the sacred and the profane, the Buddha and the mundane. They are seeking the Buddha outside of the ordinary world, elevating the concept of enlightenment to an unreachable realm of purity and perfection. The master, with his absurd, ordinary answers, shatters this division instantly. He forces the student to confront the radical truth that the Buddha is not separate from the 10,000 things, the ultimate reality. State, I will be peaceful once I solve this problem, once I am asleep, once I am perfect. But the koan tells you that the Buddha is here. The Buddha is the physical sensation of the blanket touching your skin. The Buddha is the sound of your own quiet breath. The Buddha is the small, ordinary fatigue in your muscles. When Yushan said 3 pounds of flax, he was saying, stop seeking the extraordinary. Stop seeking the concept of a Buddha. The truth is found in the simple, immediate measure of the ordinary material of life. 3 pounds of flax is just a quantity of material. It has no sacred or philosophical meaning. It is just there. And in that absolute there-ness, in the sheer, undeniable reality of the present moment, is the boundless, unconceptualized truth. Let your consciousness gently surrender its quest for the sacred answer. Relax your mind by realizing that your current, messy, imperfect reality is already the ultimate reality. The person who is struggling to sleep is the Buddha. The worries that arise are the raw material of the Buddha field. There is no separation. This realization is the end of striving. If the Buddha is the patch-robed one, then the truth is found in the acceptance of your current, simple, flawed form. You do not need a new robe. You only need to stop resisting the one you are wearing. As you drift now, let your final thoughts of the day be an embrace of the ordinary. Embrace the roughness of the pillow, It is 3 pounds of flax. Embrace the feeling of your heavy eyelids. It is the patch-robed one resting. Embrace the final, fading thought. It is the dried stick, a reminder that all things, even thoughts, return to the earth. You are here. You are whole. You are the continuous, ordinary flow of life. The way is not 2 paths. It is simply this path, this moment, this